You've never seen corn like this, and it used to feed entire nations. Most people think corn comes in yellow or white. Maybe you've seen some decorative Indian corn at a fall harvest festival. But before industrial farming took over, Native Americans grew corn in deep blues, purples, reds, and even blacks. These weren't decorative novelties hanging on someone's front door. They were survival crops with flavors and nutrients modern corn can't match. Each color told a story. Each variety solved a problem. Today, I'm showing you three heritage varieties that almost disappeared forever, why they matter more than you think, and exactly how you can grow them in your own garden this season. Walk into any grocery store and you'll see the same yellow corn. Sweet, consistent, predictable. Bred to ship well, store long, and taste exactly like every other ear in the bin. But this uniformity came at a devastating cost that most people never think about. For thousands of years, not hundreds, thousands, indigenous communities across North America cultivated corn varieties adapted to their specific climates, altitudes, and growing seasons. Blue Hopi corn thrived in the Arizona desert with less than 10 inches of annual rainfall. Cherokee white eagle grew in the humid southeast, where summer thunderstorms dump inches of rain in hours. Navajo varieties handled high-altitude cold. Pawnee corn survived the brutal winds of the Great Plains. Each variety told a story of survival, adaptation, and deep agricultural knowledge passed down through countless generations. These weren't just different colors, they were different survival strategies encoded in seeds, different root structures, different drought responses, different pest resistances developed over centuries of careful selection. When a Hopi farmer saved seeds from the bluest, most drought-tolerant plants year after year for 1,000 years, they were creating something no laboratory could replicate in a decade. By the 1980s, we'd lost over 90% of heritage corn varieties worldwide. Think about that. 9 out of 10 varieties that existed just 100 years ago are gone. Industrial agriculture favored hybrids that produced more yield per acre and shipped well across the country. The old varieties, with their complex flavors and specific growing requirements, became impractical. They didn't fit the new system. Family seed collections disappeared when elders passed away without teaching the next generation. Agricultural colleges stopped teaching traditional. Blue Hopi corn is proof that plants can do impossible things when given enough time to adapt. This variety has been grown by Hopi farmers in Arizona for over 1,000 years. Some estimates go back 2,000 years, in some of the harshest agricultural conditions imaginable. We're talking summer temperatures that regularly hit 100 degrees Celsius and often climb higher. Annual rainfall that barely reaches 8 inches in a good year. The soil is sandy, alkaline, and seems like it should grow nothing but cactus and sagebrush. Yet Blue Hopi corn not only survives but produces reliable harvests that sustained entire communities through brutal desert conditions. The secret is in the roots, and it's genuinely remarkable. While modern sweet corn sends roots down 18 to 24 inches, Blue Hopi roots can reach an incredible 10 feet deep, mining moisture from underground reserves that surface-rooted plants can't access. Hopi farmers plant these seeds 8 to 12 inches deep, much deeper than conventional corn, and the seedling sends down a single strong taproot to find that deep moisture. The plant essentially builds an underground lifeline to water sources that might not see rain for months. The stalks grow 5 to 7 feet tall in garden conditions, though in traditional dry farming they're often shorter at 4 to 5 feet. This shorter stature isn't a weakness, it's an advantage. Lower plants withstand desert winds better. They lose less moisture to evaporation. They're harder for animals to spot and damage. Every characteristic has a purpose developed through centuries of selection. And that distinctive blue color isn't just for show. The pigment comes from anthocyanins, the same powerful antioxidants found in blueberries, blackberries, and red wine. Studies show these compounds have anti-inflammatory properties and may help regulate blood sugar levels. Blue corn actually has higher protein content than yellow corn, about 20% more in some studies, The nutrition profile is different, richer, more complex than what you'll find in a grocery store. Growing Blue Hopi corn works in zones 4 through 9, but it performs best where summers are hot and dry. Basically, it loves conditions that stress out regular corn. Plant seeds 4 inches deep if you're in a humid climate, up to 6 inches in sandy desert soils. This depth protects seeds from drying out and gives roots a head start reaching groundwater. Space plants 10 to 12 inches apart in blocks rather than rows. This is crucial. Corn is wind-pollinated, and a single row means poor pollination and ears with missing kernels. Plant at least a 10 by 10 foot block. That's 100 plants for good results. You won't harvest this corn in 70 days like supermarket sweet corn. Blue Hopi takes 100 to 110 days to fully mature, sometimes longer in cooler climates. The kernels dry on the stalk, turning from soft and milky to hard and dense. You're not growing this for corn on the cob at a summer barbecue. You're growing it for grinding into flour or making hominy. The flavor is earthy, slightly sweet, with a nutty finish that makes incredible cornbread, tortillas, and traditional dishes you simply can't buy anywhere. When you grind those blue kernels, the flour comes out a stunning slate blue color. Pancakes made with blue corn flour look like something from another planet. The taste is more complex than regular cornmeal, less sweet, more savory, with an almost bean-like richness that works beautifully in both sweet and savory applications. While Blue Hopi adapted to desert conditions, Cherokee White Eagle evolved in completely different terrain, showing how versatile corn can be when communities carefully select for local conditions. This variety comes from the Cherokee Nation in what's now the southeastern United States, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia. Think high humidity, summer thunderstorms, clay-heavy soils that hold water like a sponge. If Blue Hopi is the minimalist that does more with less, Cherokee White Eagle is the opportunist, taking full advantage of abundant rainfall and longer growing seasons. The kernels are white with occasional blue or purple streaks, sometimes creating patterns that people say look like an eagle, hence the name. The ears are 6 to 7 inches long, and the kernels are larger than Blue Hopi. Stalks reach an impressive 8 to 10 feet tall, making them one of the taller heritage varieties. This height serves a specific purpose in traditional Cherokee agriculture. The Cherokee use the Three Sisters planting system, where corn provides a living trellis for climbing beans while squash spreads below on the ground, shading out weeds and retaining soil moisture. The beans fix nitrogen from the air, fertilizing the corn and squash. The squash leaves keep the soil cool and moist. It's companion planting that actually works, developed over centuries of observation and experimentation. Cherokee White Eagle's height makes it perfect for this system, tall enough to support vigorous bean vines without being shaded out. This corn was reportedly carried along the Trail of Tears in 1839 when the Cherokee were forcibly removed from their lands. Families who walked that brutal journey brought seeds with them because they knew, as long as you have seeds, you have hope. You can rebuild. That historical connection makes growing Cherokee White Eagle feel like preserving something important, something that survived against terrible odds. Cherokee White Eagle thrives in zones 5 through 8, particularly where summers are humid. Plant after your last frost date when soil temperatures reach 60 degree minus. Unlike Blue Hopi, you only need to plant 2 inches deep. The corn germinates faster in warmer, wetter soil conditions, typical of the southeast. Space plants 8 to 10 inches apart in blocks of at least 16 plants minimum for good pollination, though more is better. This variety matures in around 110 days. You can harvest it at the milk stage for fresh eating if you want, though the flavor is starchier and less sweet than modern hybrids. It's edible, just different. Think more substance, less sugar. Most growers let it dry completely for flour. The advantage here is versatility. Cherokee White Eagle adapts to different harvest times and uses, which made it valuable for communities that needed flexible food sources. Fresh corn in summer, dried corn for winter storage, seed corn for next year's planting. The flavor of Cherokee White Eagle meal is slightly less tannic than many colored corns, with a sweet undertone that balances the earthiness. It makes exceptional grits, which is why it's been gaining popularity among chefs in recent years. It was even planted in the White House garden in 2011 as part of an effort to highlight heritage crops. The Green Revolution of the 1950s and 60s changed everything about how we grow food. Agricultural scientists with good intentions developed hybrid corn varieties that produced 30 to 40% more yield per acre than traditional varieties. Farmers who switched made more money in the short term. Government subsidies reinforced the change, essentially paying farmers to plant the new hybrids. Within 2 decades, heritage varieties went from common to rare to nearly extinct. But those higher yields came with trade-offs nobody talks about much. Modern hybrid corn requires consistent irrigation. It needs chemical fertilizers, lots of them, because it's bred for maximum production, not efficiency. It requires pesticides because uniform fields of genetically identical plants are pest magnets. And here's the kicker. The seeds are sterile. They're called F1 hybrids, and they don't breed true. Farmers can't save seed for next year's planting like their grandparents did. They have to buy new seed annually from seed companies. It's a business model, not an agricultural system. Heritage varieties like Blue Hopi and Cherokee White Eagle aren't as productive in bushels per acre, measured by industrial standards. But they don't need irrigation systems or expensive fertilizer inputs. They handle pests better because they've been dealing with them for centuries. They're not sterile. You save your best seeds each year, and over time, the corn adapts to your specific garden conditions. Your Blue Hopi corn, after 5 years of selection in your garden, will be slightly different from someone else's Blue Hopi across the country. That's not a problem. That's evolution in action. The industrial system prioritized uniformity and predictability. The traditional system prioritized adaptability and resilience. Both have advantages, but we've put almost all our eggs in one basket, and that's dangerous when climates change and new pests emerge. Start small if this is your first time with heritage corn. A 10 by 10 foot block gives you 100 plants, which sounds like a lot, but isn't really. That should yield 100 to 150 ears depending on conditions and variety. Each ear of dried corn gives you maybe 6 to 8 ounces of kernels, so you're looking at roughly 20 to 30 pounds of dried corn from 100 square feet, which is enough for a year's worth of experimenting with cornmeal, flour, and hominy without overwhelming yourself. Plant in blocks, not rows. This is absolutely critical for good pollination. Corn pollen is heavy and doesn't travel far on wind. A single row means poor pollination and ears with kernels that don't fill out properly. You'll get gaps and underdeveloped sections. A block ensures every silk catches pollen from multiple plants. Even a 4 by 4 block, 16 plants, works better than a single row. Don't overwater, especially with varieties like Blue Hopi. These heritage varieties evolved before drip irrigation existed. Blue Hopi especially does better with less water than you'd think. Give them a deep soak every 7 to 10 days rather than frequent shallow watering. This encourages deep root growth, which is exactly what you want. The plant develops a better root system and becomes more drought tolerant over time. Watch for earworms, those green caterpillars that burrow into the tip of developing ears. They're the larvae of a moth, and they can damage a significant portion of your crop if left unchecked. Prevention is simple. Once silks start to brown, usually about 2 weeks after they first emerge, apply a single drop of mineral oil to the silk channel where it enters the husk. The oil suffocates any eggs or young larvae without using pesticides. It's an old organic farming trick that actually works. Harvest when husks turn brown and papery dry. Don't rush this step. Kernels need to fully harden on the stalk for best storage. Pull back a husk and press a kernel with your thumbnail. If it dents easily, it's not ready. Wait another week or two. When kernels resist pressure and feel like dried beans, hard and glossy, they're done. In humid climates, you might need to harvest slightly early if rain and cool weather threaten. Just dry them indoors. After harvest, dry ears further indoors for 2 to 3 weeks in a warm, dry location with good air circulation. An attic works great if you have one. A covered porch with fans, anywhere dry and warm with moving air. This final drying ensures long-term storage without mold. Then shell the kernels by twisting the ear. The kernels should pop off easily when fully dry. Or use a hand corn sheller if you're processing a lot. Store dried kernels in airtight containers in a cool, dark place. They'll keep for years, literally. Some seed banks have germinated corn that's hundreds of years old. Heritage corn isn't sweet corn, and that's okay because it opens up different culinary possibilities. The high starch content makes it perfect for grinding into meal or flour. A hand grain mill works great for small batches and gives you control over texture. Coarse for grits, fine for flour. A high-powered blender like a Vitamix can also grind dried corn, though it's harder on the machine. The blue corn makes stunning blue cornbread with a flavor you won't find in any store. It's earthier, richer, less sweet than yellow cornbread. It pairs beautifully with chili, soup, or just butter. Cherokee White Eagle grinds into a fine white flour, excellent for tortillas, dumplings, and traditional Southern recipes. The grits made from Cherokee corn are exceptional. Creamy, flavorful, nothing like the instant stuff in a box. You can also make hominy by treating dried kernels with calcium hydroxide, food-grade lime or cal, which removes the outer hull and changes the flavor and texture dramatically. This process is called nixtamalization, and it's been done in the Americas for thousands of years. Nixtamalized corn is more nutritious. The process unlocks nutrients that would otherwise be unavailable. It's the base for pozole, masa for tortillas and tamales, and traditional grits. The flavor is completely different from regular cornmeal, more complex, almost nutty. When you grow heritage corn, you're doing more than gardening. You're preserving genetics that took centuries or millennia to develop. These varieties contain drought tolerance, pest resistance, nutritional profiles, and flavor compounds that might matter more as climates shift and industrial agriculture faces new challenges. Climate change is already affecting growing zones. Pests are spreading to new areas. Water is becoming scarcer. The genetic diversity in heritage crops isn't nostalgia, it's insurance. Seed banks store heritage varieties, which is important for backup, but seeds deteriorate in storage, even in climate-controlled vaults. They need to be grown out periodically, selected, and saved to stay viable and maintain genetic vigor. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway is a fantastic backup, but seeds sitting in a freezer aren't adapting to changing conditions. They're frozen in time. Seeds growing in gardens are evolving, adapting, responding to their environment. That's where the real preservation happens. There are seed savers across the country quietly maintaining these varieties in their backyard gardens. Every harvest, they select the best ears, the bluest, the biggest, the earliest, whatever traits matter, for next year's planting. Over decades, their corn adapts. It becomes their region's corn, slightly different from the original but still carrying the core genetics that made it special. This is how agriculture worked for 10,000 years before seed companies. You can find Blue Hopi and Cherokee White Eagle seeds from specialty seed companies that focus on heirloom and indigenous varieties. Native Seeds Sheer Search specializes in southwestern varieties. Baker Creek and Seed Savers Exchange carry heritage corn. Many smaller companies and seed libraries have these varieties too. Start with one variety this season. See how it grows in your garden. Save your best seeds. You're participating in something ancient and important. If you want to see what real corn diversity looks like and taste the difference heritage varieties make, try growing one of these this season. The flavor alone is worth it, but you're also keeping alive something that almost disappeared. Drop a comment below if you've grown heritage corn before, if you have questions about getting started, or if there's a specific variety you'd like me to cover next.